Hey guys, welcome to another video from myself, Fraser. We're going to be taking out the 737-800 for a bit of a spin before it eventually makes its way onto Flight Simulator 2024. One of the very few reasons why I come back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, although as mentioned I'm having a few little issues with 2024 like many of us have. It is stable in many aspects, but it's not in others, and it is what it is, but everything's moving over there now, so apart from the Fokker friendship that I enjoy flying, this is the only other thing that's keeping me tied to this platform, although I do hope, because I've got quite a few like Cessnas and like various local air clubs around New Zealand's liveries, and I just hope that Sobo or whoever it is, I hope they can and I hope the creators start making it easier for people to do liveries on those various aircraft. But yeah, here we are in the Qantas livery. We're going to change the time just a bit. We're going to do like an early morning, your classic early morning 6 AM departure from Auckland here. We're going to go to Sydney, and if time allows we'll do a few more little sectors within Australia. So yeah, here we are in the new Qantas Silveroo livery. It's Qantas. You can only do so much with the livery, I guess, but I do like the defined kangaroo and the gold pinstripe. They call it the 97 livery or the 90s livery, but yeah, then we have this, which is probably better than the livery just that this one has just replaced. So yeah, we'll get into it and we'll get this aircraft all started up. So I've got it on a kind of a turnaround kind of thing. Not quite, it's all powered up, but we still have to tune the RSs and whatnot. So we'll get the ground power unit, which is already on. We'll get the APU fired up, and we will just get these turned on so that we can turn on the APU, and we don't forget to turn on the packs for some air conditioning. And we'll just go ahead and align the IRSs, and we will load up our flight plan. And like as you saw with my 777 videos, PMG, this is, and my general like style of my videos, this is just for you guys, just to smash out flights without feeling like you have to be hardcore sim pilots. This is like definitely the level above like just playing around and landing the 747s at Lukla Airport and that sort of thing, but it's definitely not the level that the likes of real world pilots produce, the content they produce on here. So yeah, this is just showing you just how quickly, using the wonders of the computer and whatnot, how quickly can get smashed out these flight plans and getting in the air as soon as possible, because like myself, I can imagine a lot of you guys have very busy lives, children, family, or just work. And yeah, this is not this game is 100% a sandbox, and that means everything like make things as easy, difficult as possible, whatever you want to do. Don't let squares and boxes and circles confine you. Just get out there, and we can now turn on the APU. Just get out there and just enjoy it for what it is, and make it work around your busy lifestyle. Don't work around your already busy lifestyle to try and be be like hardcore that you don't want to be hardcore, you know. Alright, that's loading up. We have activate our flight plan, execute. We will now go into our perf init page. So the difference between the Airbus and the R737 for me, like in basic terms, in many ways the Airbus is just plug and play. You basically just enter everything. You just enter very little data and away you go. The 737 is a little bit more intuitive, bit more going on behind the scenes. So for example, this is all classic Boeing, like entering all of these relative fields. As you can see what we're doing here. This here, I've seen it in the video. You just use the ISA. So if it's minus 56, you add. If it's got a plus, you add 4. So that's going to be minus 52. And our zero fuel weight, we're just going to round it up. So 56.2. Cost is going to be 5, and our alternative is going to be 2.7. So 737, you have to add in all of these like the finer details. You could say I'll load up, request the winds. Right, while we're doing that, we will release all of the grounding crew. What I do like about the 777, you can just release these and they just disappear. They don't go through that time-consuming process of closing up all the doors and driving away. As you can see here, I don't have GSX, and I don't think I will. I seem to get a lot of, like, just sort of my personal observation, it seems to be quite buggy from what I understand, but and also too, I don't think my laptop can handle all of that stuff. So I'm just going to put in the QNH in Sydney as TN11. Execute. Then I'm just going to type in these fields, get a good range going. Oops. 310 200 1000. Oh. Execute. Then I'm going to load up my winds, and that will just execute. Sweet. So that's brought up all of my winds. So I'm happy with that. While I'm here, I'm going to just do my departure 23. Just going to request my flight clearance, but I'm assuming it's going to be this one. Madeep. Perfect. Route. Takeoff, and now we're going to enter in all of our takeoff. So just take off in 52 is our flex temp, I guess you could say, and we'll enter in our winds 180/6. It's a bit of a slight crosswind from the south for our departure. And flaps 5, and just copy and paste these fields. Get my center of gravity. I'm just going to do this now while I remember. Around about there, that's fine. It's not meant to be 100% accurate because you wouldn't see that exact point decimals on there. So 147 knots is going to be our takeoff speed. And we'll just get our request pushback and start. We're almost at that point. And what's our runway heading? It is going to be 23 something or other. 23.1. Right, we're basically ready to push back and start. We'll turn on our flight directors. We'll arm our nav for the time being, and we will do everything else ourselves. So that looks pretty good. We can now go ahead and turn on all of our fuel pumps. We don't need our ground power units, so we'll get rid of those. Release, remove chocks, I'll put the handbrake on, and we'll turn on our collision light, we'll turn on these electrics, turn off our pack so we can start our engine, we'll turn on our, we can turn on these as well, turn on all of our like anti-ice warning features. Right, we will now commence our pushback. Alright, we'll use our map, get rid of that. We're just going to start our engine, get that fired up now. Select our transponder to on, and what we will do is we will go through and go terrain, position, data, bring up all those fields, and we'll do the same up over here too. And with this one we'll select airports too. I don't like to have airports on mine because it just clutters up the screen, and we'll just go ahead and complete our pushback. But yeah, like I was saying, the 737 is a bit more, like I sort of liken it to, I liken the 737 is like driving a manual station wagon. It's all an older manual station wagon. It's all, you're doing a lot more things behind the scenes, but you feel like you're in control. It's that sort of, you get that feeling of old school flying. What I can imagine it would be like. I'm not a pilot, but I'm just assuming that's what it would probably feel like too for pilots. Now we'll just go to continuous, select ground, turn on that generator, wait for that to get above 10% into, and then we can introduce the fuel. We'll do flaps 5, get that ready. Takeoff, rejected takeoff is set. But yeah, the yeah, I find the Airbuses are a lot more, like I say, a lot more hands-on, you know, whereas the Airbus, it's like it's all automatic really, just plugging it into play and into drive, and the only thing you do have to enter in the Airbus, which is the opposite to this, so the takeoff, it's like the so you have to enter this, and this is almost the equivalent of entering all of the data when you're in the Airbus for your approach. But apart from that, sort of like, I guess you could say the similarities between the two, but in a different aspect. But yeah, this aircraft, yeah, the 7, you get the feeling the 737s is a bit more, you know. Right, we can now turn on the packs. Oh, yeah, I'd say the 737, it's, for me, I find lots of fun flying it. But I feel like the Airbus is just simple and easy, and when you're busy and you just want to do things, you just want to use the time to fly, I find the Airbus is just like an automatic. You just plug it into drive and away you go. But yeah, we're taxiing out on a beautiful spring morning here in Auckland, and we're going to head on up to Sydney in the Qantas, which would be Jet Connect, which is like a subsidiary but not well like it used to be. Jet Connect was like the Jet Connect is the Auckland, New Zealand based crew that fly the 737s, and for a while there they used to have their own aircraft registered under the Air New Zealand's registration ZK, and then they just basically the actual subsidiary just became merged into the mainline Qantas. But I do believe that the basic company Jet Connect is still operational, but they basically are under Qantas, the airline. But yeah, once upon a time, Jet Connect used to have a fleet of 8 737-800s with the dedicated New Zealand registration and based here, but I think now it's quite a fluid operation like aircraft. Now that they've done away with that specific dedicated aircraft, it's more of a fluid operation now. They've got, I guess it's just the case of subbing an aircraft when they need them, when aircraft need to go into maintenance. But yeah, it's as a Kiwi, Qantas is a very iconic part of New Zealand furniture. The iconic red livery, and well, it's been operating into New Zealand since basically the very beginning, so it's very much although Air New Zealand's our national airline, you could say Qantas is almost like our other national airline, in regards to lots of Kiwis fly Qantas, and they used to operate on New Zealand routes as well under their own under the Jet Connect, company they used to operate out of, or for a number of domestic routes throughout New Zealand, including my hometown Rotorua. We used to have Qantas New Zealand fly into there. But they're definitely Air New Zealand basically on Trans-Tasman. It's basically like Ryanair and Jetstar, really. I mean, you have all the flight entertainment systems, but you have to pay for it. Whereas Qantas, it's one of those airlines that is all in your airfare. I do know that a lot of Kiwis like to fly with Qantas because they have food, meals included in the airfare, as well as they do have the business class as well. But everything is, we set out auto throttle, but everything is all set for our departure. Yeah, as I say, I just feel like lots of buttons, lots of things going on with the when you look up there, there's more switches than the Airbus. Everything's all just like streamlined, and I guess they say the Airbus is like the ultimate aircraft when it comes to like very efficient workspace. Right, we're gonna just disregard a few ATC requirements. We're just going to use this this entry point onto the runway, and we're just gonna get going, folks. We're gonna smash out this flight and get on our way to Sydney. Spool up the engines, click that little magic afterburner button. Not quite the afterburner, but the takeoff go around setting for the thrusts. And let's hope we can get ahead of these traffic that's on finals for Auckland. I really do feel like the 737s feel like a... Just trying to do this smoothly. So plenty of runway for our takeoff there. Yeah, like the definitely the term pocket rocket is definitely for the is definitely a term used for the older 737s, the 200s, the 300s, the 400s. But I guess you could still use the pocket rocket terminology for the 800s. Right, we're now going to dial up our speed for our climb out. We'll set to 450. And we're just going to turn on our autopilot now so we can enjoy the view. And we'll retract the landing lights initially to get rid of that drag. We'll quickly bring up our flaps. We will now come up to here and set these to off. Can turn off our taxi lights, don't need those anymore. And we'll wait before we release the crew. But we can now go ahead and go into VNAV now. And we'll just speed it up just a little bit, and they've given us flight level, so we'll just go into standard mode. We'll go to the weather radar, not that we'll be spending much time in the cockpit, but yep, that's our departure, folks. That's all you have to do, really. In terms of smoothness and getting things smashed out, we'll just actually enjoy this view actually as we fly over the entrance to the Manukau Harbour, the notorious spa that's claimed many fishing boats, many big ships, many lives too. And I think I've said it before that I used to live around the West Auckland and I used to frequent this area a lot. That's a really good fishing spot, this little point here, but along here it's just got this very misty, eerie feeling, and if you're a very spiritual person, I could imagine you feel, I guess, tension. A lot of deaths have occurred around here, and yeah, it's a very beautiful wild place because of the prevailing winds. It's what we Kiwis call the wild west coast, and it definitely, this part of definitely lives up to the reputation as being a very eerie, wild, interesting place. And that's Piha Beach, which is the most dangerous beach in New Zealand. It's got that most dangerous beach of New Zealand tagline. Very beautiful place, good surfing. But yeah, definitely loved living in Auckland. Auckland is a really lovely city, just the transportation system is not the best. But yeah, we will now turn off our landing lights properly. And we will now release the cabin crew and the passengers, and we will just motor on. Actually, I'm gonna see what our cruise is, so we can go up to 38,000 feet. So we will do that. We'll dial up 38,000 feet into here. We'll make sure we've updated our cabin pressure, and then it's already into here, so we can just paste that into there like so, and then we'll cruise on up to 38,000 feet. But yeah, like I was saying, the 737 has got a bit more bit more, I guess, admin paperwork that you have to do to get this off the ground, but like, just if you want to fly these aircraft, just yeah, follow these videos, just do it as easy as, make it easy for yourself, and just once you get the hang of it, then you can start programming in your flight plan from scratch, and which is quite easy to do. It's just a bit time consuming, that's all. But yeah, 737, it's it's definitely a lot of fun to fly, to play around with. Although in saying that, in all honesty, the 737, the Airbus, all of those aircraft, once you push it into autopilot, they're basically 6 in one, half a dozen in the other kind of thing. It's just, you just push the autopilot button and it does everything for itself. But yeah, there are aspects I do like about the 737 that just makes you feel like you're, as a terminology I like to use, it makes me feel like a manual car. I feel like I can just like flick through the gears kind of thing, whereas the Airbus is basically, to me, it just feels like driving automatic. You just do a few different procedures and then put it into like that cruise notch on your flight, on your throttle, and just let it do its own thing. But yeah, we'll let you guys to it, and we'll get back when we get to the landing part. Alright folks, we've been given our instructions for landing, however we're going to change it a little bit because this, we have to sort of initiate it, but we're just going to, we're basically going to, instead of doing this arrival which will be vectoring around here, we're going to do what I've just been watching on like Flight Radar, and they get vectored around here like so. So we will disregard that vector and we will just go, and I'll change the gate too. I'm going to go for a gate that the Qantas flight just used today, less. I'm going to change it to runway 34 right. Less, none, and we're just going to go vectors, and let's try that. So I'm going to apply, so let's see where this takes us. So I'm not too sure where Bobig is, but what I'm going to do is set up my RLS 34 right. Let's go execute legs. Right, we'll start our descent, eh? First we'll just reset this, see what happens. Right, we're going to start our descent anyway, by the looks of it. So we're just going to push this altitude intervention and hopefully it will start descending, but we're quite a little wee way off our profile, so we might need to use a bit of spoilers, I'm assuming. But it looks like it's capturing that. Actually, we don't need to use too much spoilers at all, and we're just going to use our runway heading, just start using our heading now. And we'll set up our performance for our landing. So we're going to be using runway 34 right, import our current details, and we don't need to use so much auto braking because the exits are basically right at the end of the runway. We've been given our burrow readings, so we can enter that in 1010, which is basically what Sydney is at the moment anyway, so we don't need to worry about that. And it's just about following this runway heading and see how it goes. It's not giving me the curves and stuff that it had on Flight Radar 24, but it's gonna do. Yeah, in Flight Radar 24 they came up to around about here, then they got vectored around like that, but FS HUD currently, like, obviously they're following this arrival and then they got to this point here, then they got vectored in, whereas FS HUD doesn't. I don't think it's got that ability to think about things, like it'll just take you through to the full thing and then vector you into your approach. But it's just, these are just the workarounds you have to deal with in a whole it's a really good program, but like with anything, you're never going to get it like real life kind of thing. It's all about just making do with what you've got. Alright, we'll change that to 34. Right, I have no idea why it's got not used, because that runway is in use. And I'm just going to reduce the sim rate. This is the annoying thing with Navigraph. It seems to bug out a bit when you're doing certain things. It takes a while for it to load up, so I definitely do need this to come up, because I need I wish I've known that, because I'm so used to it. Like when I do 34 like this, obviously they've updated their SIDs and stars, so right, I'm going to have to I'm just going to set up my gosh, this is annoying me now. Hold up, just bear with me guys, I'm just having a few issues with this. We'll just see how these vectors go away, because I've sort of missed my localizer, so right, I'm going to enter in my RLS. Right, I've got my RLS set. I'm just going to have to just hold off here and just get some of this altitude off, because I'm way too high. Right, that didn't quite work out as what I'd planned, but that's okay. turn these into continuous, turn these to continuous. We'll turn on our taxi lights, turn on our seatbelt sign. We'll set our runway, our course 335. Right, we've sorted that out. We're back on track. We'll go, yeah, flaps 30 for our landing. We'll select flaps 30 into here. Copy and paste. So yeah, in the past, like, there was no like proper star flying from New Zealand into Australia, but it was obviously looks like they've actually updated their citizen stars, and I guess all the various GPSs that go into creating those. So obviously they've got a nice new star here like so. So that's really interesting. We'll know from the future for that. But yeah, we've managed to get this all sorted out now for our arrival. And we'll get ourselves all set up and ready. Take our speed all the way down to 180. So everything's all pretty set. What we will do, we will extend our retractable landing lights. It's just a drag thing. I've been reading online. They don't extend these until they're like basically on the ILS kind of thing, which is what we almost are. We're just going to go into approach mode now, arm that, and then that will bring the plane around like so. And we can start lowering the flaps. So that basically means, from my understanding, I have to scroll my speed all the way down to the approach speed, which is 42. And my bar is going to be 220. And I forgot all about this, but we do have a little heads up display here, which we will use. And our go around altitude is going to be 4,000 feet, so we'll just scroll that up to 4,000. Leaving things just a tad too late, but we're not flying real world, so everything's all good. Flaps 30. Get a nice outside view of the aircraft, flying it over this industrial area. the old me, if I'd done this when I first started out, this would have been a very stressful situation, but once you've done this a lot, it's just repetition and being comfortable with your surroundings. But once you've done this a few times, everything just feels like everything just slows down, and you feel like you've got all the time in the world to play around with all your different settings and whatnot. What we do is we'll just get rid of this. Actually, it's just getting out of my way. Oh, maybe next time I'll get rid of that. And that was one of my smoother landings, so I'm pretty stoked with that. And we'll just take this taxiway here. Used a bit more braking than anticipated, but we still did it. And we can now pull up our flaps, spoilers, find the golden click spot for this, and that's our arrival into Sydney. A bit messy there, but we will learn from our future from our past mistakes. But we'll turn off the flight directors, we'll turn off this auto brake, we'll turn this to the expander mode, turn off our reverberator, don't need our landing lights now nor our strobe light, but we'll change that to steady. We can turn these off, turn off our runway turn off, and we can also turn on our APU and get that fired up, ready for and what I am going to do is I'm going to not follow the map that it's given me, because I'm just going to conflict with so in real life that would come up this way, because aircraft using 34 left you'll be, as you can see, it's just a one-way system going down here like so. So if the whoever's fault it is, if it's the developer for this airport, if it's FS HUD, this is the taxiway to get to our parking bays over there. So we'll have to come a wee way up to avoid any conflicts with traffic using 34 left. But yeah, everything looks pretty good. I'll just clear this, clear that, and we're pretty much all tidied up from our arrival, from our landing, and it's just a case of taxiing in onto gate, and we will get another flight underway. Not too sure where we're going to go next. But yeah, everything looks all pretty good, so that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Get the speed up because the 737 can can go quite fast along the taxiways here. Right, we could actually, what we can do is we can shut down engine number 2 to save a bit of fuel. And we're just going to disregard that one because once again we don't want to conflict with traffic. So we're going to head on across and we're going to use this next taxiway. And our aircraft are using this cross one way. It's very rarely used here in Sydney. But we will take this. We're going to take this one here. And we're just going to motor along this, just go cut it right across the runway. Nothing's approaching. There is something in the distance, but we are good. I can't wait till, like I said many times, the only thing that's just lacking in this game is just a nice dash 8. Once a dash 8's in here, it will just complete. I mean, there's still lots of aircraft to make their way onto the scene, but it will, in my personal opinion, it will just complete everything, I reckon. Alright, and this is going to be our turning bay for our gate, so we're just going to turn off our taxi light now. And then this is going to be our gate here, number 3055 I think it is. And here we are, folks. And here we are. Parking brake can now come on, and we can now turn off the last remaining engine. We can turn off the transponder. We'll see if this jetway works, which it does. That's perfect. We can now turn off our emergency exit light, turn off our strobe light, turn off our fasten seatbelt signs. We can now turn off these fuel pumps. And that's our flight completed, folks. we won't worry about the ground services for our next flight because it just let's add some Yep, that is our flight completed. We'll turn on the ground power and we can turn off our pitos as well, we don't really need them. We'll turn off these hydraulics. And yeah, welcome to Sydney, folks. I hope you'd enjoy that flight, and we will see you again very shortly for our next flight. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys very shortly.